Hello and welcome back to OC Avery. Now this is episode 8 of Breeding British Birds. Now that marks 2 months actually since we paired up the native birds. Obviously the red poles, the green finches, bull finches, gold finches, siskins, mule and hybrid pairs and everything really. So we're gonna, we'll have a look today at how they're all getting on. We've got youngsters have been successfully weaned now, the first natives. We've got more youngsters on the sticks. We've got some other youngsters that are just about there, and more youngsters emerging from the shells, which you're going to see today. So plenty in store today. Hopefully you all enjoy it. Now make sure you do stick along till the end, because I've got an exciting announcement and a bit of a sneak peek and a preview for a project that I've been working on over the past few months, and you're going to get to see the first little part of it today. And then when it's completely finished, which should be next week, you're going to get a video on that, and hopefully you should enjoy it. It will inspire you to do similar. So anyway, without further ado, this is episode 8 and I hope you enjoy. So as always, we begin with a catch up with the canaries. So we're going to visit the Norwich canary pairs, and we're going to visit the feeder canaries, and we're going to see how they're getting on and what they're up to. So we'll get right to it. So we begin with the yellow dimorphics. As you can see, we've got both parent birds just eating some egg food. Now their chicks are approaching 2 weeks old, and I think it'll be any day that they're ready to leave the nest. As you can see, quite a lot of poo, but that's to be expected. So we've got 3 healthy young birds there. Now, this is my first year breeding these dimorphic canaries, and I'm going to predict in this nest we've got 2 hens and a cock. So you'll see that this bird and this bird are much lighter than this one, and actually the 2 from the previous round, much lighter in colour, and I think obviously that is quite close to their mum. So looks like maybe 2 hens and a cock, which would be nice. Now we'll see how they molt out just to confirm that, but that's good. So that's nice. They were rung 2 weeks ago. About a week ago, with G-rings from the BBC. So that's a nice start with those guys. You'll notice that these guys are no longer feeding the greenfinch chicks. They've been weaned, so we'll look at those a little later. And I've put back a new nest box on there, and we've got a nice nest being rebuilt. So what I did after removing the youngsters, not long after I filmed last week's video, or last week's episode, I decided that it was then time we give them a rest. So I gave them a rest for about 5 days, put this nest on 2 days ago, and as you can see, she clearly wants to go down again. So I'm probably going to try and get some straight canaries off these guys, the satinets, the red eyes, just to give us something to work with next year for possibly light or a clear mules, goldfinch mules. But we'll have to see what happens with those guys, and they've been fabulous feeders, so they might just carry on with those feeding duties. Going up to the Norwich, as you can see, the hen's in the nest. Now I did clear out the nest and let her start to rebuild, but sadly we still haven't got that egg. So I am thinking now it's getting a little bit frustrating after a month of no action from this pair of Norwich. Therefore I am tempted that I'll probably split the pair up, move them both into a flight, get them fit, and then give them maybe 2 weeks outside, and then repair them and just see if that'll get them going, and see if that works. And if it does, brilliant, and if it doesn't, then it might be the end of this year for breeding in Norwich, because it looks like that might not work after the first round was unsuccessful. So just having a look here, you can see there's a nest but no eggs. So that's just an update with those guys. So we come to this pair of feeder canaries. Now you'll remember last week the greenfinch, pied greenfinch chicks, well, one pied greenfinch and one normal greenfinch, jumped the nest, which was great. They've been, on their own, well, independent enough now for several days. I've seen them feeding on the egg food, which is great. So give it a few more days just to check, let them get to a little bit older, just so I'm confident, and then I think we'll remove those 2 chicks to go to the others, which are being weaned, which we'll visit later. And I did put a new nest in, and the award for the best nest ever clearly goes to this hen. As you can see, there's barely any nest crafted in that felt liner. As you can see, there's 2 pot eggs in there as well. They're just as you know, I just want to set all the eggs at the same time, because actually we'll talk about some birds later, which actually I'm going to be setting their eggs in for this pair as well. But they've done a great job of rearing these 2 green finches. Obviously, not an easy task because they are very greedy little young birds, but nevertheless, this pair of fifes have done a really good job, and I'm quite pleased with them. So you may remember that we also do have another pair of feeders which are on eggs, but we're going to visit them a little later because we've had a slight change of plan which links them in with some other birds, and then we're going to visit the Norwich and the mule in pairs a bit later with a Norwich cock and a Newcastle cross hen. So we'll have a look at those guys a little later on, but now it's time for the red poles. So it's been ups and down this week, as always with the red poles. They are a lovely little bird to keep and a pleasure to keep, but as always with breeding these guys, they're not easy. Yeah, they're not easy work. They are challenging and they really do test your patience. So we'll see what's happened with these guys this week, and what we've done from there. So as you probably know, we always visit the top pair here first. Now, you won't recognise these guys as being that pair because we've had a bit of unfortunate events happen. Sadly, the hen we had from the Jack Lloyd line, after her first round were dead in shell, she took a bit of a turn for the worst after rebuilding, and we sadly lost her last week, which was a real shame, completely unexpected. She was in brilliant condition and then dropped, and that is part of keeping birds. That does sometimes happen. As upsetting as it be, we've got to roll with the punches and you know, make amendments. So what I've done is I've took this pair actually from down here and moved them into here, and the reason being for that is because it was a slightly darker cage down there. The pair weren't doing anything. I thought a bit of change of scenery, a bit of more light, a lot more natural light, and obviously the LED lights, they're not flashing at the moment, it's just the camera picking up the, you know, frames per second or whatever. But anyway, so I have seen quite an improvement in these guys in that they, you know, I've started to show a bit more excitement, and the hen has been showing interest in the nest and possibly attempting to build, which is great. So that's a normal hen who has a potential to be split FAO to a normal split FAO cock. So we're going to see how they get on. Last week we did say that this pair were due 6 eggs. Now they did hatch. However, if you remember their first round, the hen didn't feed. Well, the same happened again, but learning from that mistake, I decided that we aren't going to take that risk again. So once the chicks had hatched and she didn't feed, I did top them up with hand rearing formula, which we're going to talk about a little later on, and then move those chicks. So I've left them just to now rebuild, and we'll just end up doing the same again, is getting them on eggs and actually fostering the chicks, which we'll look at shortly. We come down here now. This is just the spare red pole cock. Actually, I've actually had to remove this normal pied cockbird from the cobalt hen because he was breaking eggs, which is a bit of a spoiler because we have got some eggs in that pair, and I do have the other cockbird outside who was from the hen paired to Jack Lloyd. But that's our little normal pied cockbird. He's fathered some eggs, so we'll visit his hen in a minute. This pair, we've got the agate pastel to cinnamon split pastel hen. Now, this pair have been a bit of a nightmare, to be honest, because the cockbird wasn't filling the eggs. Now, I decided after, you know, once again, we're going to have to remove this cockbird, so I put him in a flight. I've had him in a flight for over a week and then reintroduced the pair. I actually took the nest away completely and let the hen rebuild. So the hen has rebuilt now and has laid the first 2 eggs of the clutch, which is nice. I'm hoping they are full, and that would be lovely to get some youngsters from this pair. And let's hope he fills those eggs, and if he doesn't, then we'll just maybe swap the cockbird over, we'll get him in a flight, we'll let the hen go around with a different cockbird and see what happens there. But I really do hope these eggs are full, because it's a lovely pair and I could really do with them being full. So we're going to come down here now. This is where the normal pied cockbird was, who I just showed you, and his hen here. So she is actually on 4 of her own eggs, all which are full. Now she's a cobalt, and actually she is also sat on 4 from another hen, who is from the agate pastel hen to a normal split agate, split cinnamon, pretty much split Isabel as well, and split pastel bird. So plenty of options for colours in that, but she's sat on 3 of the agate hen's eggs and 4 of her own. So 7 youngsters is not unheard of for them to rear, but we'll see how they get on. As you can see, the eggs are there. They're actually set the same day, so they'll all hatch the same day as well. But getting on all right, so we'll leave her to it. She's happy enough. We'll come down to this pair. Now this pair have been a bit of a nightmare, because the hen is built up but no eggs. So I'm thinking now I'm going to call it a day with these guys. We're going to remove the nest site, I'm going to clear it out, and let the hen rebuild. Now you might remember last week we did actually remove the nest and let her rebuild. She rebuilt but failed to lay once again. So I'm thinking now it's maybe something not right with the nest site, so we'll take that nest site out, we'll put a different one in, and maybe give it a bit of a spray with some mite spray or something. I mean, I've not seen any mite on it, but if there is something that's bothered them like that, then it will clear those out. Moving to this pair, we've got our Isabel cock to our cinnamon hen. They are laying, well, they're actually just laid the 3rd egg today. Now this is the pair that have had full eggs, but just the hen has failed to sit. Now, after having a chat with my friend Stephen Baker, some of you may know him, he breeds quite a few red poles and has quite a few birds anyway. He said that the cockbird could be bullying the hen off the nest and causing her to come off those eggs. So actually what I've done is I've removed the eggs, replaced them with pot eggs, and doing that every day. And then what I'll probably end up doing is removing the cockbird once those eggs are sort of the clutch is finished, and put those back under her and remove the cockbird, and just hope that she sits on them. Or it might end up where I leave her to sit a few days on fake eggs, and then if I'm confident enough that she's going to do the job, I'll put them back under her. Or it could end up where we maybe move them under a pair of feeder canaries if I feel that something will have the potential to rear them. Now this is the pair from last week that we saw the youngsters hatch, and the youngsters are doing amazing. As you can see, we've got the normal pastel cock to the cobalt hen, and look at their chicks. 5 now. We did have 6, but sadly 1 was just failed to be fed. But this is a amazing set of chicks, and a very interesting chick here. I'm not sure of the colour on that. It looks like cinnamon pied, but I can tell you now that that hen, the cobalt hen, is not split for pied, because she came from a line that had nothing to do with pied, and I actually bred her 2 years ago from a cobalt hen to a cobalt cock split Isabel to a normal hen. So there's nothing to do with pied in that, and there's this little interesting chick there. But anyway, with those guys, we've got a normal actually just in the centre, and we've got 3 lovely little cobalts. I'm really looking forward to seeing how these guys turn out once they're on the sticks, just because they are, they're pretty much fully feathered. But that's that. But nice little nest, all 5 being fed really well. We've got them rung anyway last week, so lovely little developments with those guys. And then we're going to come to this pair, and this is the 7th or 8th pair in this shed, and we've got 1 more pair to visit in the other bird room. We've got the normal split cinnamon, split agate, split Isabel, split pastel cockbird to the agate pastel hen. And she was from my friend Stephen Baker again, and she's, I believe, a 3-year-old now. She's a proven mother and has been fantastic with her young in the past. So I felt that it was only appropriate that I'd remove her eggs and actually use her to foster the cinnamon chicks. Now, not ideal, because we would ideally want to raise our own chicks, but because of the cinnamon chicks being obviously from a really good pair and not wanting to lose them and having the ability and the option to move some eggs about, I decided that would have been the best thing to do. So we removed the eggs and sat her on the little cinnamon chicks, and she is the most amazing mother in the world, because as soon as I put those chicks in, I'm literally talking a minute, she was onto them feeding. I'll see if I can get her up, and there you are. As you can see, there are 5 little cinnamon redpoll chicks in there. They're about 3-4 days old now, and they're all being fed really well. So I'm thinking relatively soon it'll be time to get their rings on, and I'm really pleased that we've saved those guys. So well done, Mrs. Redpoll. She's done a really good job of fostering those guys and keeping them safe. So this is our final pair of redpolls. Now we have the cinnamon split brown pastel hen to the cobalt cock, who is she's on 5 eggs. No, sorry, 6 eggs, all of which are full. So they're due next week, a bit late next week, I believe. You might see it in episode 9, or it might be episode 10 that you see them. We'll have to see just how they're getting on. But overall, doing well. I think, you know, I was thinking of putting those agate hen eggs underneath her, but I think having her on 6 and the other cobalt hen on 7 is realistic, and a realistic ask. And I'm happy to foster. Maybe we foster a few out underneath. Canaries, maybe a pair of fifes, or we can work something out. So we'll get there. But either way, nice little hen on a nest of 6 and all full. So the redpolls are ticking over at the moment, and although we've had a bit of heartache from the loss of one hen, but they're doing well. So now we move on to the green finches. The green finches have been really good so far this year. We've had some good results. Obviously some have been a bit iffy, but overall I think the general consensus is that they've done quite well. So we're going to visit the pair outside. We've got the normal pair, we've got the young pied chicks who have been weaned, and we've got the pied parent birds in the other bird shed, which we're going to go and look at shortly. So making the start, we've got our pied greenfinch chicks now weaned away from their foster parents, which were the satinet new colours. So they're currently just in this 3-foot breeding cage. I've just given them soft food at the moment, to be honest. They're not quite there for the hard food, so I don't really want to be forcing them onto it, but slowly, you know, gradually getting it into their diet. Now, I have really not paid much attention to these guys in terms of if we got cocks or hens, but I believe I've seen at least 2 cocks, and I probably have to have another look. But with them being pied, they do have a bit of pied barring on them, so I'm going to have to work it out, because they've not got the exact same colour. But once they've molted anyway, we'll be able to tell cocks from hens with behaviour and the sort of the depth of green anyway. But either way, these guys are getting on quite well. They've been weaned for about a week now. A little bit skittish around people. It's just because they've not really, you know, they're young birds. They're not that used to me. But nevertheless, we'll get them there. And I don't think it'll be too long before we can move these guys to somewhere else, which we'll talk about a little bit later. Now, last week we visited the young greenfinches, who, well, they were getting on quite well, and just about to fledge the nest. Well, as you can see, they have now successfully fledged the nest and are just learning how to use their flight feathers. Must admit, I'm still in this flight right now, and as you saw one of the youngsters come towards the camera, he was sat on my head. So I think yet just learn that might need to be a little bit cautious around humans, because I guess we are a bigger creature than them. But anyway, those guys are doing well. They're looking so healthy. You know, these are off my best pair. green finches. One of my best pairs of birds. Really doing well. Lovely cockbird. I believe he's a yellow feathered bird. The hens are, probably a buff to intermediate. And anyway, we've got the hen back on a second round now. She sat on, I believe the 4th egg was laid this morning, which is nice. They're doing well. The chicks are being reared fine. They're beginning to start eating soft food themselves. No hard food yet, but I'm not expecting that. It's a bit too early to be expecting that yet. But with the hen on another clutch, that would be nice to get some more youngsters out of her. And we'll see how they get on next week. And hopefully by then we should have the youngsters weaned away from the parents, and the parents really on with the second round. So the green finches in this bird room, we've got both pied pairs. We've got the pied cocks to the normal hens. This pair we sadly had all dead in shout. Don't know why, but it happens, and we've just got to sort of roll with that and get them on the next round. It's a shame we haven't got any youngsters from these guys yet, because really typically you'd expect maybe even young green finches from April, beginning of April, maybe the hens on eggs in March. But we'll get there with them. But the positive side of this is, although that happened, I did remove the eggs, obviously, with them all being dead in shell, and I'm talking by this point day 16. They usually hatch on day 14. Floated them and everything, and they're just dead, sadly. But what we have got is the pair rebuilding, and a much better attempt at building. So rather than just laying the eggs in the bottom of the cocoa fibre nest pan, like nest liner, we've actually got a full-on nest being constructed by the hen over the past few days. No first egg yet, but I think that'll come within the next day or so. Now we're going to look at this pair. This is, these guys are the parents to our young pies that we currently have, and the hen has been sat on 4 eggs. 1 was clear, 3 were full. All 3 hatched. Now sadly the cockbird threw one of the youngsters out early on, so I did remove him just while those other eggs hatched. But anyway, the hen is on 2 pied chicks. The cockbird is now helping to feed with the hen. The chicks are about 3 days old now, and they're doing well. So these guys are, both pairs are moving in the right direction now. Obviously, an nest from these guys and youngsters with these guys is starting to look promising with the green finches. So a nice thing to report, and we'll see how they're getting on next week. So for the viewers of episode 8 last week, you're probably eager to find out, well, what happened to the bull finches, because we had 3 eggs, all 3 were supposedly full, and we had 2 chicks last you saw. Now, it turned out that one of the eggs did stop developing, sadly. I'm going to guess about day 7. Don't know why, but it did. So we ended up with 2 bullfinch chicks. After a day, the youngest bird was ejected from the nest, and I don't know why. I found the youngster on the floor, warmed him up in my hand, brought him back round, put him back in the nest. But sadly, when I examined him when he was first flown out the nest, he had some internal bleeding, so the chances of him actually recovering from that are very slim to none. And sadly, he didn't make it. He was left in the bottom of the nest, dead, and then obviously just getting trampled. But with that happening, that caused a bit of a change for the bullfinches. Rather than feeding the youngsters and carrying on with that one youngster, they lost interest. I guess what their motive behind it was that they're going to be sat rearing a youngster for 2 weeks, just one youngster, where in 2 weeks' time they could have some eggs not far off due, and getting some more youngsters to rear. So then they abandoned the nest, didn't bother feeding that youngster. Now, I'm pleased to say that we did save that youngster. That youngster is now down in with a feeder canary. Canaries are generally quite funny birds when it comes to giving them bullfinch chicks for feeding. People have got mixed experiences. Some people have had them rear no problem, and other people said they won't rear at all. And I think there's 2 things from this, from what I've picked up. The first is that the head of a bullfinch is quite wobbly. The chicks are not steady at all. The heads are wobbling side to side, and I think the canaries lose patience with them, or some of the canaries. The second thing is that if you examine a baby bullfinch, and you compare that to pretty much any other finch, like what a canary will rear, let's say a canary chick. A canary chick has got a pale pink inside of its mouth. Well, a bullfinch has a bright red, and I think that slightly puts the parents off. But either way, what I've had to do is with those canaries, they have took to the youngster, but they aren't feeding it enough. They're not giving enough food to that bird. So what I do in the morning and an afternoon and an evening, I'm topping up that youngster with my own this hand rearing formula that I use, and just giving them that, and it's working quite well, to be honest. The youngster's doing fine. The canaries are feeding it and they're keeping it warm, but I think they're just not quite feeding it enough. Now, I was going to try it under the green finches, but we didn't really have anything in line that would have worked. So really what my plans are, my intentions with that is we're going to leave it under the canary for now, keep it rearing it, and hopefully it just picks up as the young bird gets more developed and head steadies. But if not, I'm going to pull the young bullfinch out from underneath it and actually hand rear it myself. I'm not going to keep it as a pet bullfinch in terms of having it to play about with on my hand as a cage bird, as in a pet inside. But I'll just hand rear it, get it out inside, outside with the other young birds, and well, we'll see if it's a cock or hen. If it's a cock, well, he might not be staying here, but if it's a hen, it will be. Whether that be for some other bullfinch pairs or whether that be a bullfinch hybrid. So we'll see how he's getting on next week. I did ring him a few days ago, so he's moving in the right direction, but it's probably slightly slower than ideal. So for a quick update on the goldfinches, how are they getting on? Well, the goldfinch pairs, we've got the trio outside. We've got the normal cock to the normal hen and the agate hen. The agate hen is on 4 full eggs, which I'm pleased to report. They are due probably about 9 days time. So you're going to see those guys hopefully in episode 10, how they're getting on. But we also have the cockbird has put the other hen down, the normal hen. She's on 5 eggs. Now, I've not candled these as of yet, but I don't know if they're going to be full. And the reason being is because we know if the agate hen eggs are full, then he's clearly got a preference for her, possibly. But has he filled the eggs of the other hen as we're running them as a trio? Well, I don't know. So I think all that we can do is wait and see. I'm going to give them a few more days until they're about 7 or 8 days sat on, and then I'm going to candle them. Hopefully they're full, and if they are, brilliant news, they're going to hatch around the same time as the others. But if they're not full, then we'll just have to let it go again. Hopefully they click that time, and if they don't, then we will maybe throw a red polecock in that flight or something else, and we'll see if those eggs become full from that. But generally, goldfinch hens pair to 1 cockbird in 1 season, so they'll only make 1 cockbird. So if she's decided to pair to the cockbird in there, might end up where we don't get anything, but we'll see. We'll keep trying, and let's hope for the best. Now, in today's video, and like I did mention last week, I was hoping that I'd have some young siskins to show you. Don't get me wrong, they are doing fine, there's nothing wrong, but the eggs just haven't hatched yet. We're on day 12 as I'm recording, and the eggs are, I can't really remember. I've not bred too many siskins. I wasn't sure if it was day 11 they hatched, like the red poles, or whether it was day 12, which is today, or if it's day 13. But obviously, with them being smaller birds, they don't take as long as some of the larger finches. So I'd be surprised if the incubation period was the same as like a green finch. But anyway, the hen is doing fine. The cockbird's outside, keeping fit, and well, the 4 aren't due any time, so you will see that next week. And you know what, I'll do a bit of a preview for you. So if you want to go down in the description and follow my Instagram, which is OC_Aviary, I will post a photo of the chicks as soon as they hatch, and you can get more regular updates on there. And that's not just the siskins, that's all of the birds. Just follow my OC Aviary Instagram page it's down the link below, and you will see the siskin chicks as soon as they hatch. Whether I do that as an IGTV, whether I do that as a story, or whether I do a post, I might do all 3 for you. So I hope you enjoy that, and they're due pretty much any time. So fingers crossed that we should see them by next week. So now it's time we look at the hybrids and the mules. So interesting week with these guys. We're going to look at the young Siskin Red Poll hybrids. We're going to see how they're getting on and some exciting information with those guys. We've got the cross-bill, cross greenfinch, and we've got the two goldfinch mule pairs. So let's see how they're getting on. So I'm going to begin with the goldfinch cross Norwich hen. Now we've got the Norwich hen in here, as you can see. Sadly, her eggs were all clear. The 3 which she laid for us, which was with the goldfinch cock, were clear. So what I've decided to do is, you'll notice the goldfinch cock isn't in here. I've moved him out to a separate flight, and we're just going to try and get him fit. I'm probably going to shut this nest off actually from the hen. You know what? I'll do that now. I just do this. Just shut that door, clip the nest back on. The hen can see it, but she can't get in it. And then as soon as I introduce the cockbird, I'll put them back. And hopefully that might do the trick of just a bit of separation. Will maybe get those eggs full, which would be nice. But we'll see how they get on. I'll probably introduce the cockbird by next week's episode. So fingers crossed you'll see something from that. And then if I zoom down here, we've got the goldfinch cock in with a new colour cross hen. Now, like I mentioned with the Bull Finch, those canaries were on 5 full eggs. They were obviously their own eggs as well, so I just thought we'll just get some more feeders out of them at the moment, and then we'll get them on some other natives. But obviously that job was taken up a little bit earlier than expected. Now, we had 3 eggs with her, however only 1 of them was full, which is, that's great. We've got a goldfinch mule in incubation. So what I've decided to do is move the 5 fife eggs under her, which you can see. So all 5 are full. Now, actually, all 6 eggs in there are full. So we've got a goldfinch mule in there and then 5 fifes. So I'm looking forward to seeing how they get on. And that should be next week. You're going to see those hatch. The easiest way to distinguish between them is the fact that they've come from a pair of clear fifes, and the young fifes anyway, which we bred off the pair previously, were clear and slightly ticked variegated. Actually was a cinnamon as well, but we'll be able to tell goldfinch mule because it'll be the only dark chick in the nest. Well, hopefully. You know what? If it's not a dark chick, I'll be over the moon, because that means it's a light mule. But we'll have to see how that happens and how that gets on. But either way, some full eggs from a goldfinch mule pair, first one. So we'll see how they're getting on next week. And it would be nice to see a young goldfinch mule in the nest for the first time in my bird room. So now we visit the mule and hybrids, which is the last birds we're going to be visiting for today. So we've got the greenfinch in with the crossbill. She's building, but it's still a half-hearted attempt. We've had a clutch off her already, which were clear when we had her with a Norwich cock. So hopefully just playing about with it a bit and putting the cock crossbill in there might do the trick. We might get some hybrids, which would be nice. But I'm probably going to change the layout now, and the reason I say that is because she's clearly not quite happy with the setup and how the cage is arranged. It does happen from time to time, and well, we're just gonna roll with it and make adjustments where we see fit. So what I'm pretty much thinking is I'll just take out the nest sites, I'll give the cage clean down, and then maybe we move the nest site in the other far corner, maybe we change the nest site slightly, maybe we just literally put a normal pan in like this and just leave her to see if she goes in that. Maybe we put a different nest line in, maybe we just try something different and let's hope it works. So that's that pair, but they are getting on well, and yeah, it does look promising. So I think this is a pair that I'm actually going to keep together, maybe even for next year, because they do look promising and they are looking at a strong pair. Now, you probably want to know what happens, what's happened with the Siskin Red Poll hybrids. Well, it's been really exciting this week. We've rung the youngsters and they are doing really well. The mother is feeding them great. The Siskin cock is actually feeding the Red Poll hen through the wire divider. But I'm not obviously going to let the Siskin cock in until the youngsters are pretty much on the perches feeding themselves, because I don't really want to be taking the risk and losing them. But what I have found with these youngsters is when I was ringing them, because I don't like to disturb them too often, was that I believe I'm correct with my observation, is that we've got one normal and 2 cobalts, and obviously the cinnamon redpoll hen is actually a cinnamon cobalt, so it's come from the mother side, obviously. And we've got some visual mutation hybrids. Now, because it's a dominant gene, it could be cocks or hens, so we're going to have to see what they turn into. We will molt them out, obviously, and we'll colour feed them. We'll just see what happens, see what they look like, and it hopefully should make some nice little miniature hybrids. But they're doing great, so some little cobalt siskin redpolls would be a nice little first hybrid for me. So hopefully by next week those guys should be on the sticks. I mean, they're a week old now. By 14 days I imagine they should be pretty much there. But what I have noticed with these guys, and they are quite small, and it's not small in terms of not being fed enough, because they are, because as well they're growing all the feathers, but I'm wondering if there's some sort of dwarfism, or because they are miniature hybrids, it made them slightly smaller. They are small little chicks, and they're on bee rings as well, so whatever they are, they're small anyway. But we'll see how they get on, and I look forward to showing you them next week. And you'll get updates on Instagram with them, and you'll get updates on Facebook. So if you're not already following me on Instagram and Facebook, then do, and join Natives in Norwich, because that's where I'll be posting it, and we'll see how they get on. So like I said at the start of this video, I said please make sure you stay till the end of the video, because I'm going to give you a little bit of a spoiler, a little bit of a teaser for something to come with the project that I've been working on. So this image right here is part of the project. Let your imagination run wild with that and try and work out what it is. I'm sure most of the seasoned fanciers will be able to tell what I've got and worked on immediately. But as you can see, we've got 5 young canaries, which are the youngsters we bred not long ago, somewhere else rather than a cage. So you're going to see that in a video very soon. I'm going to do a whole video on the thing, and maybe multiple, just going through it. But let your imagination run wild with it, and if you think you know what it is, comment it below, and I'd love to see what you think I've worked on. Really trying not to give too much away, but you'll see it very soon. So it'll be something to enjoy. So anyway, that's the end of today's video. So I hope you've enjoyed it, and enjoyed episode 8. So if you'd like to follow along with more, following on with episode 9 and more episodes of the Natives in Norwich Zoom Room, loads more videos, because I've got a lot of time. Hopefully now I've finished my A levels. See how that gets on. So I've got the whole summer off now to do videos and content for you guys, and hope you enjoy it. So anyway, if you've enjoyed today's video and you'd like to see more, please smash that like button, and please hit the subscribe button below so you can follow along with all of my new content. So thank you very much for watching, everyone, and I'll see you in the next one.